Suppose, Lord Russell, this film were to be looked at by our descendants, like a Dead Sea Scroll in 1,000 years' time. What would you think it's worth telling that generation?
Mind spins and spirals like the card cogito. I think, therefore, but do I even know? Hume said the sun might not rise in the morning. Patterns ain't proof, just habits we adorn. Russell's teapot floating out in the void. Invisible doubts that can't be destroyed. Belief ain't a bird and the skeptic employs. Question the noise, the cosmos ploys. Skeptic's eyes always peeping the fraud. Truth ain't handed down, it's wrestled from the gods. Doubts my temple, my faith is flawed. Think it through twice before I applaud. Induction wobbles like a table with no leg. Hume's knife cuts leave certainty begging. A billion white swans, blowing black renegade. Shatter the mirror, the cracks cascade. Cogito feels strong, but is it really? Thoughts build castles, clouds act silly. Russell's pot spins in the ether so freely. Prove it exists or the claim's too dreamy. Am I the dreamer or the dream in the show? The car wrestled devils, still didn't know. Faith and senses, they play tricks on a low. Truth's a mirage in a desert of woe.
When you are studying any matter or considering any philosophy, ask yourself only what are the facts and what is the truth that the facts bear out. Never let yourself be diverted either by what you wish to believe or by what you think could have beneficent social effects if it were believed. But look only and solely at what are the facts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another Sunday Skeptic Talk. Today, as you've seen in the advertisement and on the thumbnail, we have Miss Kelly from Detroit Atheist Queen. We're going to be talking about humanism. So let's bring her on in to talk. Miss Kelly, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. How are you guys today? Thank you for having me on.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. You've been making your way around in a few different channels. I've seen you all over the place, and I don't think I originally. Go ahead.
I don't know why I'm hearing the show playing again.
Oh, you probably have the YouTube on. You might need to minimize the YouTube or put the volume down on it.
I don't know how that's.
If you have the YouTube channel open, you just want to mute that completely.
I'm trying to see how to do that. Hold on. This is crazy because I don't.
Right. Just minimize for a moment. Don't close.
I just cut it off, so I'm trying.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine because you have a side chat over here that you'll be able to see the side chat. Inside of here, you don't have to see the side chat inside of YouTube. You can see it on this panel.
Hold on. I don't know. Okay, let me see.
But the YouTube running in the background is going to have a delay, and it's going to mess with you bad if you're doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
We can even do something like that if you prefer to see the chat. Otherwise,
I don't see why I'm still hearing the conversation.
You got to have something else opened.
Yeah, I don't have the YouTube. I don't have the YouTube playing it. I have it on my phone, but my phone. Maybe.
Well, check your browser then right quick because it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I deleted everything except this.
No, I'm talking about if you have two tabs open, you'll have one tab that might be in this one, and then you might have a connected tab that you might have.
See. Let me figure this out. Hold on 1 second. This is crazy.
That's okay. I've run into it a time or two myself, but I try to because I always know
deleted
it's come.
all the apps except this one.
Okay.
Let me see. Hold on.
Y'all bear with us for a minute.
Hold on, because it's crazy.
It's probably in your thumbnails at the very top. At the very top of your screen, you'll probably see you got more than one tab.
This is crazy. Hold on. I'm looking at this.
And if you need to close everything completely and come back in.
Yeah, I'm going to just do that. I'll be right back.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, I don't know how the browsers are set up, what kind of browsers you got going, but for sure, it might be the best option. Got a few
I'll be
people coming
right
in on here.
back.
All right, well, so we'll see you shortly. Yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll get it going. See Kurt popping in here. A few others. Take her off the stage. Yeah, that's what I did. But I don't. She's saying that she doesn't see the tab, I think is what's going on. She didn't see the tab that it was showing a YouTube tab open. I feel that sometimes myself, Robin. Yeah, whatever tab you're typing on there, I would close that one completely unless that's on your phone. I don't know if Tab was the original. I don't know if that's a joke or if that's actually true. But Tab is definitely a brand. I don't know if Coke originally owned it back in the day. I don't know. It definitely was the cheap brand. Anyway, today, y'all, we're going to be talking about humanism. I'm not sure yet if Miss Kelly's using the terminology of secular humanism or, oops, I think we just got a beep. Nope, that's not her. Or just humanism, but that's the subject on the stage today, for sure. Oh, you think they still do own Tab? Did they own it back then? Wow. Okay, that was a deeper problem then. Had all the tabs that were visible closed, but was still hearing the audio off the YouTube. Yeah, that might need to be a browser reinstall or something like that at some point. Mike, how's it going, man? Not familiar with that brand. Tab was quite common, but we had those at service stations and stuff. Whenever I was a kid, you could go get tabs everywhere. Wonder where that was being marketed. I don't think I've ever seen it down here. But we had some types of beverages that had their own like local Southern competitors. So like we had Barg's root beer down here that was its own thing for a long time before Coke, even bought into it. I don't know if Coke owns Barg's now. I think they do own Barg's now, but Barg's root beer was the Southern root beer. Nobody in the South used any mug or any of that other stuff. Sorry, y'all, for the delay. Those that are just coming in, Miss Kelly with Detroit Atheist Queen, she is having some technical difficulties and she is presently reconnecting. So y'all, please bear with us and she will be back in here shortly. I guess I ought to open my Discord now. Everything's working against her being on the show, I swear. Last time something wound up coming up, we had something of a family emergency. My wife was in the hospital and we had to reschedule. And then we I kicked it off one more time for her to come back on later because I think she had something scheduled. So we moved the date a little further. And now we're having some more technical difficulties. It's like the universe is working against the show, but oh no, the Coke doesn't help with the kidney stone. I was addicted to Coke until the kidney stone hit. Yeah, until the kidney stones. Yeah, my wife gets kidney stones too, but yeah, the Coke's probably not the best thing for it. She's been messing with lemonade and stuff she'll do. I think it's might be a little more beneficial for kidney stones even than just regularly drinking water. Drinking a little bit of lemonade maybe help will break it down a little bit, or at least that's the theory. I don't know if any of that acidicness actually gets to the kidney stones. I have my doubts. Kurt, you're the one to ask, huh? Does lemonade help with kidney stones whatsoever? Or anything based on pH, honestly, whether it's lemonade or otherwise. I have real doubts myself. A little bit. I mean, sometimes they'll say that. They'll just say, oh, go get me a Coke instead of go get me a pop or something like that, that more southern group or more northern groups will use as the terminology. Or did even, back in the 40s and 50s, they'd say pop or a soda pop. But a lot of times now, I think it's become more colloquial that in the South we'll say soda rather than Coke because Coke is a specific brand. But they still do have the problem with their vernacular in the Skol specifically. So they'll say some Skol and they don't mean Skol brand. They mean literally any Skol. Howdy.
Hey, but I'm frozen. Hold on.
I see that too.
Let me take off the virtual background.
Filter, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Are you on the same laptop or computer?
I had to
or are you
go
on
to
something
my
different
iPad
now?
because somehow now it wants to update.
Oh, Lordy.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me just use. Now I'm still frozen. Hopefully I can fix this. Okay, why isn't that going off here? I'm not. This is like, wow. And everything.
And we were working. You came in 15 minutes early. We had it. Everything was working perfect. And then it's showtime. And here we go. Here come the problems.
Well, I can still talk. For some reason, I'm frozen on this. Maybe it'll eventually leave because
I'll tell you what. It's not a problem to me.
Okay,
I
finally got it now. There we go.
You seem to be. There seems to be a little bit of a delay on it, but
I got you. I got it.
Not the audio, just the visual. All right. So fantastic. The subject matter at hand. It looks like you had picked. We're talking about secular humanism, or just humanism, or how do you generally refer to it?
I guess secular humanism is a relatively newer term for me because I always thought that humanism was good without God. But now I guess a lot of people now are saying they can be humanistic and still be religious as well. Which, I give it to them.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, and I'm just curious, like, when you use the term, here, I'll just start like this. What are the tenets or core ideas of humanism, and what's the basic belief? What's the basic ideal or concept that this is built around?
Get my thoughts together. One, that belief in a God or gods do not conform your morality, whether the conscious morality of everything. Two, that I have everything thought out, man. Give me a second. And that there's no such thing as an afterlife, so there's no reward in doing something good. when it comes to
I got you.
humanism.
So what's the drive to do something good then?
Well, for me, I can talk from my personal experience.
Sure.
It feels good when you know that you do something to help somebody, and that person is better with the little thing or big thing that you've done. It's like, man, it's
Yeah.
something inside of you. It warms you.
Yeah. I think we're social. I think we're social animals, and
Yeah.
for the most part, what's happened, I feel like, is these religions bring in a third party interaction between, like, that we're supposed to be good to other people because this other third party wants us to be good.
Yeah.
And like, it seems we don't need the third party interaction, that we have a desire to have like social interactions and build social connections, and that we can just behave towards another person for its own ends. For that's the end of the, like, we want the reward of the relationship and the interaction, and to be treated with reciprocity, and we don't need a second or a third reward. But I'm curious of your thoughts on that.
I will say this, and when we go along, I'll probably would think of more core ideas as we go along. But
Sure.
repeat what you just said, so I make sure that I heard everything correctly.
Oh yeah, that there's just a third. It's that we don't need a third
Oh yeah,
party.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just an interaction between us and other people. That we treat other people in large part the way that we want to be treated. But sometimes we have our own internal motivation. It makes us feel better to treat people a certain way. It makes us feel better to see someone else smile.
But if you actually, I mean, but this is people after going to actually read the book that they're so indoctrinated with, they realize that God
Mm.
didn't have a lot of morals, did he? Some of the things that he did or he commanded man to do to each other, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm
We
like, this, especially, and even my mom, when she talks about it, well, I believe in God, but this, I never understood Job, as my mother always says. When as religious as she is, she says she never understands Job. Like, why did God do all those things to the one person who was faithful among any others, how he treated him?
yeah.
And that's the third party that we're looking in.
Yeah, that is the third party. It seems like that we could, without that third party, like there's these implicit things that are between us. And I'm curious because when I think about morality and I think about like moral sensibilities, I can't help but think of Richard Dawkins and his selfish gene. This idea that we're doing these things for some selfish reasons at some point. And I remember watching a mother like playing with her child, playing with a baby, and she's just doing goo eyes and different stuff, and she's trying to get a smile out of it. But in reality, every time this child coos or is laughing and whatnot, this makes the mother happy. So there is some kind of interaction that she is making herself happy by making this child happy, right?
Oh yes.
And I think that we can share it. This is real easy to share this with like an infant, but it's not super easy to share it with every individual that we talk to. But to some degree, I feel like it is. There is a sense of infection to a smile. There's a sense of infection to people laughing. That people can laugh in a crowded room with other people laughing easier, just because there is this camaraderie that's going on.
I don't remember exactly, but it was an episode of Friends, and so they had a bet that they could do a good act without being rewarded themselves for doing that good act.
Mm.
And nobody could do it. It was always
Interesting.
it was always, you know,
There was, I think I've seen this.
yeah,
There's always this internal motivation.
motivation of why
And
they
towards
did
the end of it, it
something.
was like everybody was recognizing that there really is this internal
Yeah,
motivation to do these
yeah,
things.
like when we do like adopt the family for
Yep.
Christmas time, and to see the family when they get the bikes or whatever gift we got them that they had on the list,
Yeah.
and they're like, and we're so happy. We like, kids are happy to get these bikes, or the parent because they're not expecting them to get gifts, and we give them something as well.
Yeah.
And the faces, that's
Yeah.
that's the light and joy to me.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had a episode not too long ago with I can't believe I'm stumbling on this one, but Professor Hizzle. I didn't know if I was going to say the professor or not. I generally just call him Hizzle. But I had an episode with Hizzle where we were talking about what brings us to these spaces, and it's one that I didn't touch on, but I feel like there is this distinction between people that behave a certain way because of the third party, or a person that might act more sincere in the way that they're treating you. And there's not a third party. It's just an it's a one-on-one interaction with somebody, and they treat you the way that they're treating you for their own sake and for the own sake of this interaction, not for a third party. And when people are treating you a certain way because of a third party, there seems like this disingenuousness to it that maybe is off-putting, and maybe people feel more sincere if they're not doing that. And a primary example is like if you get a gift from your brother when you're a little kid or something, and it's from your older brother because your parents like, oh, you have to get him a gift, and if your parent is the one that is making this thing happen, then there's a sense of insincerity to the gift. Whereas if your brother got you a gift and this wasn't forced at all, like this is genuine. This feels genuine. And I'm curious if sometimes like that's a part of the reason that we gather in these areas, because we feel more authentic morality than we think somebody with a third party does.
I mean, we're social creatures, and we need one another to strive. I mean, we look at how the what do you call it, in a prison system, the isolation doesn't work.
Yeah.
It causes a lot of mental anguish and mental problems and stuff like that. So then you look at our relatives, or even any other animal, how they interact, especially the social animals. They interact with each other, they groom each other, and you get how one mother disowns her child, another a female from that group will take that child in. So, we can't survive without each other.
I'm curious. Do you,
even though there are some like mountain men and stuff like that somehow manage.
Very isolated individuals.
Sometimes it is, but not very often.
Yeah. Well, and there's some older philosophers that I'm trying to think of I think it was Plato that said no man is an island unto himself. The idea that like no matter how isolated we make ourselves, to some degree, we'll have those friends that we still interact with, and that gives us some kind of emotional.
And I am highly introverted. Most of the time, a lot of times I'm home by myself. I'm at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Once in a while, I want to get a phone call or go to the store, do something to see somebody.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, and I'm not familiar with the humanism model or any chapters of humanism or anything like that. Are you involved in any kind of chapter like that, or any group, or like understand like is there a structure of behavior that like structures values?
Technically not, though I do go to Sunday Assembly meetings sometimes. I do go to the Michigan Humanist meetings sometimes, but I'm not an active member. But I do go to some of their functions and everything. But not officially a member. I have enough being Michigan atheist and Detroit non-believers. Add anything else. Anything else, I'm just like stepping in and sometimes coming and visiting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious.
But it's all in a circle, though.
All right. What do you see, or do you have a moral model of how to behave or how we should behave? Or have you looked at any, subscribed to any? Do you see any particular tenets that are like necessary for any moral model?
I mean, the one that I always look at is do with others how they will want themselves to be treated.
So the golden rule.
Not really the golden rule in itself, but I don't want somebody to treat me like I want to be treated. I want to treat them how they want to be treated.
Sure.
Because we have different opinions about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think what his name was that pushed back on that a little bit. Kant, I think it was, that pushed back on that a little bit, that the rule, like if it was a sadist or somebody that was interested in harming themselves, that this rule wouldn't really work.
Hey, if they want to be harmed, I can harm them too. I mean, that's what they do. That's what they want. I mean,
right.
Because some people are into that. That's BDSM.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah. And people have different, I guess, sensibilities, like that certain things would be offensive to other people, but to them, it's not offensive to them or anything. So when we're talking about, like, whether we're talking about burping, belching, or some kind of, social thing that it would offend some people, to other people it might not offend. So to say doing unto others as you would have them do unto you it doesn't totally work all the time.
Yeah. What do you want me to do? What would be comfortable for you? And then we can have a discussion from that. So that's what my framework with that is. I don't really,
that's interesting, because some people will use that as like a secondary, but they'll have as a primary something like human flourishing. And they'll say, like, the success of humans, like maybe somebody is in a bad state of mind. Maybe they would rather have a cussing match with you, so to speak, than they would do something that might be better for them. And in that situation, like, it might not be best to give that people what it is they're begging for, whether it's a fist fight or other things, that it might be better to aim towards social.
Sometimes it depends on the person, how close I am to them. Because I treat a friend is not I'm going to treat like you. Even, we know each other through the social market, but, close, like my best friend, I might be like, get yourself together, girl. What's wrong with you? Say something to her, but I wouldn't do that. I might be more kind to somebody else.
Yeah, when we know people a little closer, we know that there's certain prods and pushes that maybe they need to get them back into
this bed.
Yeah.
Whatever, but I wouldn't do that to somebody that I'm not close with. I'll be
right. You don't know how the interaction's going to be, and it might not be taken. It might not be taken lovingly.
I can be very sarcastic sometimes with some people. I had to be careful saying something, because some people were looking at me like, I was like, I'm just playing. I'm not serious. Please. I'm just playing. I had to be careful, watch myself.
Yeah, I need to curtail some of my what I tend to do is people that I care about and I'm closer to, I generally am a little less sarcastic, whereas people that are coming with some kind of nonsense that I'm not highly familiar with, I might have some tones of sarcasm constantly. That is a way of letting them know, look, I'm not highly acceptance of this way of thinking. I'm not. I want them to know how it's being received as they're putting it off, without being over the top about how, like, what you're saying is stupid or something like that. I don't want to say that, but I will give these kind of indicators of this is not landing the way you want it to.
Yeah, sometimes with certain people or certain aspects or thoughts, I'm just cutthroat.
Yeah.
I don't need, especially when it comes to a religious position, and they want to argue me over nonsense. I just shut it down. I don't even want to discuss any further, because you're talking rhetoric to me, and no, your God is not amazing, and this is why your God is not amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I have a couple friends. Well, I would say most of my friends outside of this is religious. And so whenever I sort of bring up a point, we don't get in discussions about it sometimes, but sometimes they want to bring up a religious aspect, whatever. And so they always say, let's not talk about that right now. You brought it up in the first place.
Yeah.
So when I shut you down, then you don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'm curious, what do you think when we use terms like good, or that's a good behavior or a bad behavior, or What kind of makes it good or bad? Is there any standard that we're using, or is that just on how that individual's receiving it, or what your intentionality
I
is?
would say how they're receiving it more so than anything else, or
Okay.
the overall general observation of the general public
Okay.
would be that.
And that I had a question that I formed on here, and some of these I'm just jumping around on because
Okay.
you're in large part you're answering them as we go in the conversation. But one of them that I did want to get your thoughts on was should ethics be judged by interactions, method, adherence to some standard, or consequences of the particular outcome? Or is there some mixture of all of it? So when we're talking about a
I would say a
particular action,
mixture. Then it
it
would
is
be
a
a
little
mixture.
mixture.
Yeah, I can't really place it with any ethical, with any one one formality or
One camp.
anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it depends on what it is. What we're
yeah.
talking, what this person is doing or not doing.
I've seen kids do things that like they had good intentions. It wasn't a bad intention. And a lot of times parents will give them more leeway in this ethical purview than they would an adult, but the intentions might have still been just as high in the adult, but maybe they're treated differently, or like that they didn't meet a certain moral standard because it wasn't just about intentions, it was about consequences more with them also. And I'm curious, like, how do you think we parse this out, that we could say one child, for example, did an action, and though their intentions were good, it didn't lead to a good outcome, and we maybe don't hold that against them as much as we would somebody else, that we would hold the outcome against them more so than the intentions? And how do we even deal with this? I don't mean to
I
get too
mean, I
complex.
think with it's not that. Sometimes we have to sit down at their level and explain why something happened the way that it happened. Because sometimes even if how much we plan something, it does not sometimes go the way that we want. And why are
Mm,
the reasons that those happen, and what can we do to make those things different the next time
mm,
that we try to do those things?
yeah.
You know.
When I was a kid, I remember my older brother. We had a little rabbit, and I can't remember the name of the
Oh,
rabbit now to save my life. But the
uh,
little rabbit, he was
Peter.
my brother. My brother, no, that's not it. But I can't remember it to
I'm
save my life.
playing.
But he come to the conclusion that the rabbit had fleas on it, right? So
Oh,
he got, and I don't remember if he was like maybe 6 years old or something, but he got some like Raid spray from underneath the counter, and like he
no.
sprayed the rabbit down, and then the rabbit wound up dying. And
Oh no. Poor
yeah, when the
no.
rabbit died, his thing was like, "Mama, did I kill it?" And there was this sense of from my mom that she didn't want to hurt him, but did want to tell him the truth too. That yeah, that that killed it. Uh, Obviously, this wasn't his intentions. Clearly, his
Yeah.
intentions were trying to get rid of. I was too little. I was probably in diapers. He was a little bit older than me. But this is what kind of a reminiscent story that I remember my mother telling me. And it makes me think about the intentionality of somebody. Like his intentions might have been purely good, but if an adult would have done this thing, there's this sense of, well, they should have reasonably had some knowledge. So now something gets held against them more, even though their intentions might have been, pure
Yeah.
intentions.
Well, my another story like that. My um, daughter's sister, and their father's child, gave their dog chocolate. She was
Ah,
like 3 or 4.
mm.
She
Wind up
didn't.
having a problem.
She thought giving. Yeah, dog died. Dog's been
Oh,
eating
no
chocolate.
kidding. Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, but she didn't know.
Yep.
But yeah, but what can we? I mean, that's really hard, especially when it comes to death of an animal.
Yeah.
You know, death of an animal or something like that, tragic like that.
Yeah. I mean, we shouldn't
Uh,
forget that different people at different levels do these things with their children, even. I mean, we have people inside of religious constructs, for example, that might not want their children to be medicated or use modern medicine, that they might, oh, well, I'm going to pray for them instead. And then, the ultimate bad consequence winds up happening then we're left with this kind of moral question of society. Like, their intentionality was for the absolute best of their child, but the outcome was not that. So then we're left with, well, how much do we hold them socially responsible? And are we doing it for social construct rules, or are some actual concept of judgment on the person? And I feel like sometimes we're doing it in a social construct just to let everybody else know that's onlooking that we can't do things like that. It's more so of an example than it is of an ideal of strict justice.
Sometimes it's hard because I know I'm always one, whenever something doesn't go the way that it's supposed to go, especially if somebody gets hurt in that situation, I beat myself up so bad over it because I feel that I'm a failure in that aspect.
Hmm.
Why couldn't I see this was going to happen? Blah, 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 blah. And when you know, but but when it comes to somebody else, I don't have that opinion. And I try to make them feel better best as I can
Yeah.
by trying to lift them up and showing them why what they did could have been a good thing, or showing
Yep.
them why they um showing them what different things that they could do instead.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes I have to be a friend and telling them that I can't really give you the best advice. You do need to go to therapy about this. You do need to find a therapist, a counselor, or something that can help you. Sometimes that's the best advice because I'm just a regular person. I'm not a medical um I'm not medically licensed or
Yep.
anything like that, do anything like that. But I can refer you to Secular Therapy Project,
Mm.
call them. But I can
Huh.
tell you I can tell you if I went through something, what happened to me and what I did to help you. But that might not be your best outlet because it worked for me. This doesn't mean it's gonna work for you though.
So I feel like there's this agency thing with a God character that, like, when we're in a lonely spot or we're hurting or whatnot, if we have a social outreach group that we can call and reach, we don't always feel like they're as available as maybe we would like, or maybe we're a bit of a burden on them, or other things. Whereas if we have this like centralized ideal of a God character, we there's almost this transition point between we're starting to talk to ourselves rather than we're talking to God. And it doesn't feel like we're bothering anybody. Like if we're reaching out and we want some kind of interaction with, if we're looking for a social group, or there's these group of people that we can call, maybe we're going to call Diana or Charles or Joe or whoever, like that might feel like we're in, these people are busy with their lives or other things. Whereas when we feel like, oh, well, we're going to pray and talk to God, like this doesn't feel as burdensome. So it might be more willing for people to say, well, it feels easier to talk to God. Plus, I mean, if God's all in our head, he always agrees with us. So it's a much more agreeable kind of thing to talk with. How do we
It,
overcome this?
it was so funny. I remember when I was more active, and I was active in church. And let's say I would want to talk to a fellow member of church that I thought was my friend, and I would talk to them about whatever. And the first thing they would say is pray about it. Now, I did. We pray together. You know, I need more than that, especially when I'm like, they just laid off my whole division at work and I don't have a job anymore. And I need help with food until I get a job.
Yeah.
Whatever. Pray about it. What is that going to do? Not a damn thing. Even as one person that pissed me off when they would say that, I would be like, it's not helping me any.
Hmm.
I mean, I prayed. The only thing to do is keep applying for jobs. But until then, I got kids at home and there's no food in the house.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not very helpful to
Now,
just say pray.
circular humanism, we were figure out how to get them some food.
Yeah, that seems like a distinction. Like we see it on social media all the time too. If we have a lot of religious friends and family, I've seen people mention a problem or say that something was going wrong with them. And I've seen in those social groups, you'll see one comment after another, I'm praying for you, or I'll pray for you. And they make these kind of interactions. And I had a friend from high school that told me something was going wrong with him. And it was some kind of legal system thing. And I happened to just kind of tangentially, I worked in sheriff's department for a little bit, and I kind of knew the district attorney. And I said, well, I messaged him, and I'm like, I think I haven't talked to the district attorney in a long time, but I could talk to him and maybe try to see if he'd set a meeting with you or whatnot to talk about some of these things. And after 30 different I'll pray for yous inside of the comments, I messaged him directly and told him that, because what the hell am I going to do? Tell him I'm going to pray for him. So I actually reached out to him and told him, I think I can get a hold of the DA and we can get something set up. And whether I was able to or not, he messaged me back immediately, and he's like, of everyone that has commented on the thing, no one has reached out to me or said that they'd like to try to help me do anything. It's all just, I'll pray for you, or we're praying for you, or we're concerned for you, and this, that, and the other. So I think to some degree, these kind of pray for you things they're a way to hedge and not get involved. So when someone's making an outcry, when they're kind of reaching out from the water, so to speak, the I'll pray for you is kind of a closing line to divest themselves, rather than to feel burdened in a way that they're going to interact. And I think that's dangerous. Yeah. That's a problem. It's a social
Sometimes
problem.
They don't know what to do.
Right.
I'll just pray for you, because they don't have any other
Yep.
any other rational suggestions to give you or something like that. Sometimes just be quiet.
Yeah, sometimes. But in the absence of having that I'll pray for you, though, I felt like I was compelled, because it was a friend. It was a good friend.
I would still do both. When
right.
I was religious, I would give you $10 to buy you some. All I got is $20. Give you $10 to buy some food, at least some lunch meat and some bread for sandwiches or something.
Yeah.
And still pray for you.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, I think in that particular situation, it was very interesting that of all of the people that on the social media platform that was doing that on his thread, I'll pray for you, all of these religious people that he's, been very associated with for a long time, he tells me, well, you're the actual only one that reached out and said, look, I can try to help you with this. But I think it might have truly been because I don't have a shield to put up and say the kind of I'll pray for you. I'm reading it, and it's a friend, and the only thing that I can do is to act. It's the only thing I do, right? So that it might be that having that I'll pray for you thing is something of a barricade to stop people from acting, in my opinion.
Like I said, they don't know what to say or do with that situation.
Yeah.
And that's all that they were taught. But if somebody tell me they're praying for me, I don't get offended or anything like that, because some people get mad. Don't pray for me. I don't get mad because they think they're doing what they think is best.
Yep.
So I was putting in my head, it ain't gonna help anyway. I don't say it out loud, I think it in my head. It don't help anyway, but I say thank you and leave it alone. To myself, I'm thinking of things, but I wouldn't dare. But if somebody knows my position I am now and they still do it, that kind of irritates me. I'm like, I'm not religious. I'm an atheist. I'm an anti-theist. Why are you talking about praying to me? You know how I am. So why are you talking to me like that? Can you stop?
And it can be done in a sarcastic tone too.
Somebody on the street that says God bless you or something, that doesn't really bother me.
Same.
I don't.
But have you heard it used in a sarcastic tone of like, well, I'll pray for you? Kind of. Right. So this is.
Yeah, I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah, I've definitely had it done to me many times.
Or when we talk, when we have a debate, religious debate, I'll think for you.
I'll think for you. I never go
That's
that
what I've heard
far.
somebody said. I repeated that a couple
Oh, I'll
times.
think for you. That's a good one. Another one I've heard is, well, I'll talk to my cat for you. We'll see.
Well, I didn't heard that one before. But I think my dog, Sugar. Me
Yeah,
and
there
Sugar
you go.
talk about you. But yeah, but some people, and that's fine, but and I'm gonna come from a black woman. If you actually look at this holy book, and it's all of the Abrahamic religions, not just the Christianity. They treat slaves and all this stuff and how the cattle slavery and stuff like that. And I'm like, why are we worshiping this book or this God who basically felt that we weren't worthy to be treated equal all
Yeah.
these years? And black people are so religious, it's crazy. I never understood it, because even it was like, well, it's the Old Testament don't really count. We're going for the New Testament, but if you go for the New Testament, you really look at it, you're really looking at Paul's teaching, and not really
Yeah.
Jesus and God's. So that kind of got me for a flip around and start thinking about things differently as well. So I'm like, I said most of the scripture that we look at in the Old Testament supposed to have been for Paul. Then you find out and think about it that we don't know who the Bible was written by, because I was growing up thinking that they were written by the apostles, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. No, they were written after they supposedly had gone. So, and then Paul too. All these teachings weren't written by the people who they were supposed to be written by. We don't know who they're written by.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of the New Testament, in my
The
opinion,
old
with the
too,
exception,
supposed to be written by Moses. How written by Moses and he died.
yeah,
So,
yeah, they're definitely not written by Moses. I've realized that the Catholic Church, I didn't know that they have something of a doctrine on this. They do now. They've let go of the Moses argument. They'll do Moses as judges, that they believe that Moses' judges wrote, but they still try to keep it like close to the authority of Moses as they can, while conceding that it's not Moses. But they still want to leverage kind of the authority of Moses inside of the text.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. So we got a few more minutes that we're
sorry about the technical difficulties earlier, because
yeah, that's okay. That's okay. It happens. So still,
that
unfortunately,
took away like 10 minutes.
That's okay. Yeah, I hate that, but we're gonna once we open it up, we'll still have plenty more conversation. But I did want to. I had a few questions that I wanted to ask you, and one of them is, what do you think is the larger benefit, moral benefit? What's better about a non-religious moral construct than a religious one? What's some advantages?
Well, one thing you have to realize is that we don't hold into the belief that there's an afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for myself, when I put in doing good for others, or helping others out best way I can, I do it because I'm helping somebody. Many times you look in the religious aspects, I know I'm going to heaven now. If there's no heaven, it's waste. But if you do good, that's what I say. Well, I still do good regardless. Or I don't know what I want to use instead of good, because some things I do might not be good to other people. But when I help somebody to the best of my benefit, or doing something that will help somebody else, I'm trying to frame it right, because I don't want to keep saying good. I use that word too many times. But when it comes to that, so a lot of times they look at it like, well, I'm gonna go to heaven if I do these deeds, or it is conditional why they do those things. I just do it just because, yeah, I get a thrill of it. That's what my sock niece said. That's based sum it up. It's a thrill. That's my thrill for me. But I don't want to go to heaven. I mean, I don't want to go to hell. So let me do these things. That's their moral concept of it. No, no. And then another thing, when I look
Whoops, I
into
realized
it,
I'm sorry. I had it muted this whole time. My apologies.
oh,
I had
were you
spoke a few
talking?
times and I was muted.
Oh, I'm
No,
so sorry.
it's okay.
But let me
One,
finish this point.
go ahead.
And another thing, let me get my. You go ahead, because that's what I was about to say.
Well, I was fixing to say, so primarily it looks like it's the motivations of what's causing them to do it makes it better because their motivations are more pure. Is that the gist of the argument?
It's not pure because you're doing it for selfish reasons because of an afterlife.
Sure.
That's not pure to me.
No, I'm saying if you're doing it for the person rather than this ideal of some.
Oh, definitely. You're not getting anything out of it. You know, but see, I'm going to take a step further back, and I think that humanism is an individuality thing, because but this my thought process, my mind be going scattered of me, because my divergent brain goes scattered a million pieces and trying to put it together. Because I have looked and realized that not everybody in this space have the same morals and the thought process that the humanist is going to have, being even in this space. That sometimes that they think and do things that are harmful to others as well. Oh, what's the up the cough? Hold on. And that shocked me, because I only thought I saw things like that in the religious aspect, but I don't.
Oops, shoot. I'm doing it again. My apologies. My problem with the idea of just doing something that makes someone else happy is you could do something that makes one person happy, but it's at the deficit of a collective group. So I try not to do just the do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Or there is like this social. I'll give you a primary example. If we have, whether we're talking about resource limitation or whatnot, and someone says, well, I'd like more of that food or more of that thing, and that's what they want, to do unto them what they want might be at the deficit of other people. I think to the degree, I'm okay with the do unto others as they would have you do unto them, to the degree that it is not a deficit on the collective, on other people.
Oh yeah, of course you have to look at the
more the broader bigger picture.
Sense,
yep.
The more broader sense. But I know, like for me, I believe that I was one of the ones who's been a humanist all my life. Because even when I was religious, I would go to church and I realized, wait, we have no food, we have no soup kitchen, we have no pantry, we have no this and this, and help people. So I started that in my church. And you did not have to go to service. We didn't want you to go to service, but we didn't force anybody. Because most of the time when you do something, you must go to church or do something within that church to receive these blessings.
Mm-hmm.
But no, if you're hungry, some people came off the street homeless. They knew they was homeless. They had odor, raggedy clothes. Here's your plate. Just like anybody else. Now, sometimes those people, because of how we treated them, did obviously go to service. But it was not that we forced them.
Sure.
And I used to volunteer at the homeless shelter as well.
So I'm curious if you could think of a behavior, and I think this was coined. I think Hitchens played with it, but I can't remember the model. I don't know. I just realized that what I was about to ask you was actually some form of it. It seems like Hitchens played with it one time, and that was. I'll just ask it the way I was going to ask it. Forget the way that
sure.
Is. Do you think there is any moral behavior that is more prevalent or can be more beneficial that only happens inside of a religious context that it doesn't happen in a non-religious context? Like, is there any benefit or moral behavior that can be promoted by a religion that is not promoted in the absence of religion?
No, I don't think that religion holds anything above. They don't. Like I
So
said, it's no.
yeah, I've struggled with it a little bit myself, and it seems like
No.
I've heard some examples in the past that
I
maybe
don't see.
I just, yeah, I think for the most part, like, we're doing these things
I
for
don't see where religion
human beings and
anything
for the future of
above.
human beings, but we're not doing them for, like, adding a third party doesn't seem to do anything for me.
No, not at all. No, I don't see where religion holds any hold to
Yeah,
anything moral. No,
yeah,
not at all. Actually, I think it actually de- decreases it to me.
yeah.
They don't hold any more framework or anything.
Yeah, I would be interested myself, though, in a good argument for a behavior that can be done from a religious person that wouldn't be done from a non-religious person, and that behavior is good and beneficial to humans, right? I would
Yeah,
be interested in that. I don't think there
yeah.
is one that I can think of.
I mean, because you look at the moral concept of, like, talk about slavery
Mhm.
earlier. We can talk about the punishment of abuse of children as well. Spare the rod, you know, and then you're realizing that discipline in that sense doesn't really work.
Yeah,
It works in a sense of fear. I'm not going to do these activities because I'm scared, not
yeah,
because they really know why they're not doing it. Excuse you too. But not because of not because of them learning something. I'm not going to do this. And that's what boils down from the beginning. Like, the black mothers during slavery would beat their children because they knew that they wouldn't beat them as bad as a slave master would. And
yep,
this is how we don't want you to get in trouble. And I noticed myself doing, not really abusing to a certain extent, but being more strict with my kids because I don't want to get in trouble with the law.
yeah,
I have a couple of black sons, and so, and my daughters, we're the ones first they can pull us over for anybody. So I'm like, no, don't do this. How you act, teach them how to act when there's a police around. But then you get in a car with some more white friends, they cuss out the police officer and everything. I couldn't dare do that. I'll be locked up. I couldn't do some of those
yeah,
things.
yeah. There
But
is,
that's the fear, though,
yep,
and that's just the difference. But you had to be stricter with your child because this is going to be even worse for them when they go into
mm,
society.
yeah. And I curtail my language. I now have started loosen up on it, and I've heard other atheists and whatnot say that I don't curse as much as the
Oh,
average one.
I'm a
I do use
sailor.
profanity, but I don't curse a whole lot. But a lot of it is less to do with, I think, is less to do with my upbringing and my time in the church, and more so to do with, I raised 3 children, and I greatly curtailed my vocabulary around those children because I didn't want them to pick up on it and
I'm
use
a
that
sailor. I'm
vocabulary.
not even gonna lie. My maternal grandmother was a sailor too. We was kids, used to cuss, and then when she got sick, that's when she stopped cussing. So we knew something was wrong. Sometimes it's the opposite. But no, my grandma, she would tell, she would get your man here now.
Yeah.
I love your ass. But that's just how she was.
Yeah.
She
But
called
for me, I'm less concerned that, like, some people can be offended by these things, and I grant you that. Like, so to some degree, maybe I curtail that language because I don't want to offend people, but there's also another aspect of it that is, I don't want my children to pick up on that language in their in-school systems. And there's nothing that I think that is intrinsically wrong with a word. Like, I don't think there's a word that you can say that word is intrinsically wrong or harmful. People are socially interacting with that word, and they're saying, oh, that word offends me. And to that degree, we're trying to curtail our language. And also, we don't want our children saying it and getting in trouble. But that's the only reason that I show any care for that at all. Oh, you're muted, I think.
I was, yeah. I forgot I had to cough a few minutes ago.
Okay.
But that's like earlier when we talked about how we talk to different friends. That's the same thing. Like certain things I'm not going to say and do it around, in a professional setting.
Sure.
Like there's certain words and phrases that I use when I'm talking to my supervisor that are professional cuss words. They're not cuss words. But how I say them, this is what I really mean when I say these words. but they're professional way of putting things.
So I am, we're fixing to be entering into the area where we're going to have open chat. Anybody can come in. I'm fixing to pin the link over here on the side. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll take a quick bathroom break, and then we'll be back.
How long, like 5 minutes or something like that?
It's a little shorter than that, but if we need to wait a little longer, or other people are going to start coming in, link is pinned into the description.
I don't have to go to the bathroom right now. I'm all right. If you have to go, then it's fine.
Yeah, we're going to do the bathroom break either which way, because some people they break from it or whatnot. But let me.
Yeah, you're tired of me talking.
not that's okay. But people, come on in.
Pressure remains. Take the break. Don't wait too long. Little things get heavy when you try to be strong. Stand up, breathe out, let it all unwind. Peak break time is a friend of mine. Yeah. Oh yeah. I learned it the hard way, lesson in tow. What you ignore can come back slow. Keep it moving, keep it sane. A bathroom stop can save you some pain. Take the break. Don't wait too long. Little things get heavy when you're trying to be strong. Stand up, breathe out, let it all unwind. Peak break time is a friend of mine. Aging comes with its own small test. You do your best and leave the rest. We return shortly to this show. The panel is open, but I have to go. This break won't really take too long. Little things get heavy when you try to be strong. Now the panel's open, answers on the line. Q&A will start in just a little time. Oh. Yeah.
All right, we are back. Might be a black screen for a moment. Miss Kelly's stepped away for just a second, but
No,
open,
I'm here.
oh, okay. Well, for some reason the screen's black. I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't know. Hold on, let me
Maybe
see. Hold on, yeah.
But chat is open. Anyone and everyone can jump in. Looks like we got Ed coming over already. Ed, how's it going, man?
It's going all right.
Good.
Hey, I'm trying to see why my camera isn't. Give me 1 second.
Take your time.
Take your time. I had to come on.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Detroit Atheist Queen as a fellow Michigander. Of course, I have to be supportive. We both live in the same
Thank
state.
you.
So, no, I just, the moral question was probably the first thing I dealt with when I deconverted. Like, it was like, how do I behave? How do I deal with people? And so discarding the afterlife belief, like you guys mentioned, man, that was so big for me. Like, because, like, okay, Ed, you have a lot of morality where it's like, oh, I'll deal with that later. Like, I will push that off to later. Um, and we teach that too. Like, hey, don't worry about that person who died that you did dirty to, because you can make it up to them in heaven later, or, or the other way around, it all makes sense. And it's like, how much of our morality as believers was just conditioned on this push it off to later? Like, that was the big one for me. Like, it was like, I need to have a better morality that deals with the now. Like, I need something that deals with people right now. So, but yeah, it was, it was probably the biggest thing I dealt with right away. Like, it's like, I don't have this God telling me what to do anymore. And boy, you want to talk about conditioning and dealing with indoctrination. This moral question will do it for you. Because I've even questioned the golden rule so many times I've lost count. Like, I know it's in every religion, but it's like, are they borrowing it from humans? Are they just, is it
Yeah,
a nice human sentiment and all the religions have picked up on it?
because it's
It's like that.
also in a philosophy as well. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It's a place to start, I think. There's an intuition in every culture, it seems, that it's a place to start. Is it
Mm,
perfect? No, but
no.
no,
it's a place to dig your heels in.
yeah.
But yeah, that was just my whole initial thoughts. That's what got me going down the paths of various Greek philosophies, moral philosophies, virtue ethics, because I didn't have a framework anymore. It's a big deconversion issue for a lot of people. You don't have a moral framework anymore. Like, you're so
Yeah,
used to listening to God tell you what to do, it's like, it's just
yeah,
not.
Yeah,
And now you don't have that, and then you start realizing, oh, I don't really actually do much to help people when you really think about it. I was a pastor for years. I'm like, how much shit did I actually do that actually helped anybody? And it's like, that changes your perspective. You want to be perceived as a good person a lot of times, but you just don't have the creds to say you actually did anything. I wasted a lot of time and money. I can tell you that. I mean, like,
yeah.
yeah,
what I
I mean,
did.
but that's I look at that like I know a lot of times when people they get angry because they feel they were lied to.
Hmm.
But I'm like, technically they weren't because the other people thought that way and believed that as well. So it is not that they're lying to them because a lie is something that that's not true. But if we're all taught about religion and all this God concept and things like that, how are we going to get mad at the next person? How
yeah,
are you going to get mad at yourself because this is what you were taught since you were a child? And
Yep.
I know you're going to be hurt and stunned because I can't believe that I was this blinded by this
yeah.
false narrative all these years, especially since you actually brought people to this
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
That's the big one
religion.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a
The big
pastor,
one is
people
the big.
come here every
Yeah.
day
Yeah. The
for
big one as a pastor, and I still have therapy over, is the moral questions of what I did in the past. I still have a lot of guilt
Yeah,
about that. Like, there's still a lot of things that my therapist spends a lot of time unwinding, getting the big ball of string of past decisions and past moral advice that I gave that was bad.
and I commend you for that totally.
So I got to commend my therapist, because I got her through the clergy project, but then she said, "You know what? I'm going to take I'm going to take you pro bono." Like, she
Oh,
decided to take me.
wow,
She took, and now I pay her a little bit, but I'm sure it's way under her rate. But
Wow, that's amazing.
she like, Ed, you need help. Like, you need really help. And she started to teach me the moral practicality of helping people when they really needed help. And I'm not sure. I think she does this with a lot of pastors. Like, that's her thing. So, hey, look at Tommy. There's Tommy.
Before that,
and Simon.
Simos has come in and never
Tommy.
said anything. Simos, Tommy, how's it
But
going?
yeah,
Good,
but
good.
yeah, she absolutely took me under her wing, and I'm like, I think she's collecting data, writing a book. I think she could write a book on dealing with former ministers, and I think maybe that's her goal, is to do something like that. But at the same time, I was just shocked that somebody would just take me on just to help me. Like, it was just, it was a weird moment way back, many years ago when I was first deconverting. It was like, it was different.
But we all see that there, even in this space, won't name any names, but there are ex-pastors in here that aren't receiving any help. And basically the only thing different is that they no longer use the word God, but they still have that same framework as well. So for you to step out and realizing there was an issue and getting help for those issues, you got to commend yourself.
Yeah, that's another problem I have, giving myself credit.
Well, I'm gonna do it for you then.
So,
I'm gonna do it for you then.
Well,
but you're realizing, but it does take a lot. I know the first time when I reached out, and I have a lot, bipolar too, and for a long time, I think nothing was wrong with me, because when you go through your mania, it feels good to the person.
Yep.
People were telling me I had problems and something's wrong, you receive help. No. When I finally sat down, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is why these things are happening in my life. When I finally sat down at therapy, and when I finally sat down, first I didn't want to take medication. And I don't want to be a crazy person. But then when you finally sit down and you get help, so sometimes you have to go through different medications and different therapists to find the fit for you. But once you finally find it, you realizing why you never did that before. I should have been did this. What is wrong with me?
Yeah, it's a different thing when you get into therapy, that you like, and trying to convince others to do it. I think a lot of pastors that don't do it, they don't realize how much residue they're carrying over into their secular lives. They don't pick up on it, or they don't think it's a problem. But the more you do it, the more you're like, oh yeah, I was programmed this way. I was indoctrinated this way. And it's just stuff you don't even realize sometimes it's there, and it's harmful. It's harmful to you. It's harmful to the people around you. It's just like, you got to figure it out. Like, you got to take the time, and you need that objective voice that's coming along and saying, hey, this is what the problem is. And that's why I'm such an advocate for therapy. It's just like, it's not like, I was always taught, like, you got to go to a head shrinker. There's something wrong, really, really wrong with you. Like, it's last resort when it's really wrong with you. And it's like, no, if you got some sort of problem and you need to talk to somebody that can be an objective voice and figure it out and help you unravel it, you need to go do that. Like, it doesn't have to be this major problem to go get therapy. Like, it doesn't have to be a big one. So it's like, and it's a big thing. Yeah, trying to normalize going to therapy has been the hardest thing. So,
yep. I'm curious, from the two new people coming in. I don't know, Tommy, if you're coming from a background of religion or not, but Simos, I think you were coming from no religious background whatsoever. So for you, like, the moral interaction has always been a secular moral interaction, right? You're muted, I think.
You're muted. You're good at it. You're muted, Simos.
There we go. That's right. I was an atheist. Shortly after I received the word of Father Christmas, I became an atheist because I saw my parents, being, or rather, the Christmas presents I got weren't what I asked for. They were what my parents wanted. And I put two and two together, you know. And I thought, well, it's the same for Jesus, obviously. But I didn't really know about Jesus then. I only found out about Jesus much later. I found out about God first because, you know, I was living in Canada at the time as a young child, and in the Canadian national anthem, which we have to say every day, had to say every day at school, there's some verses about God giving us this land. And I thought, hang on, I've just been to an Indian reservation as part of a school trip. And they've made me learn about a lot of Indian stuff. And I've spoken to one of the, you know, the shaman guy at the reservation. I kind of like, oh, I don't want to go and see all the stuff. And I started talking to this guy, and I found him fascinating because he had some transcendental insight into the nature of humanity. And that's why I think humanism is what is important. I was indoctrinated into humanism then, I think, or at least not under that name, but I became aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I really think what Kelly said at the beginning about humanism is, no, it's not a secular thing. It wasn't a secular thing to start with. In fact, you know, I think in Italy in the 16th century, there were Christian humanists under that name. But interestingly enough, you know, they were this less fundamentalist, right? They led away from divinity as such, more into, you know, this idea of the priority of humans. And I think that that's really important, because I think that is a crossover for someone which is de-shedding their superstitious and supernatural beliefs, right? You can easily access humanism because it is compatible with Christianity and all religions. And once you start getting into humanism, then fallibilism comes shortly after that, and that fallibilism is the way to atheism, as far as I was concerned. At least that's what my young brain, when somebody teacher tried to tell me about God, and I could see in her face that she didn't believe it. She was just making that shit up. And I seriously had like not an existential crisis as such, but I remember walking home from school and then just going straight out to the back garden and looking at my rock collection. I had a rock collection when I was like 7 or 8, and I remember looking at this rock collection thinking, these are created. I've got loads of different rocks, different types of rock, and they're all created in different ways. And I had a little chart telling me which rock was made which way, you know, like a geology thing, really. And I remember reading through it and just going, hang on a minute, this doesn't make sense. They're all like these are all processes which are natural, that are made without God. In other words, you know, so why do I have to believe in God again? This doesn't make any sense to me, right? Especially when, you know, God's telling me it's my land when it's clearly not. I mean, clearly, you know, I'm white. How can this be my fucking land? You know, it doesn't make any sense at all. You know,
you didn't see one of those rocks with the cross on it, man. You didn't see the one with the cross.
I didn't. But I had I did have a kind of existential crisis, and I remember sitting down thinking, look, what if I was on the surface of that rock as a tiny, like dust mote almost, right? And that was like the insight into, you know, infinite regress that I was trying to struggle with, because, you know, I was told that God is eternal, and I was thinking, well, not sure about that either, right? And then I kind of like had this, I don't know, what do they call them, out of body experience, I guess. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, that's the same as me being my size on this earth. Right. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute, what if I'm me, right, but much bigger, but on the solar system? And then I thought, well, what if I make it bigger, like the galaxy? And then what if I make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger? And I remember just flying out to find out if I could find out whether infinity was infinite.
Oh, yeah.
Just in my little tiny brain, you know what I mean? All sitting there. But it was, and I came back down after thinking about this stuff like deeply. And I flew back from the edge of the universe in my mind. And I remember coming back down to the Earth and seeing the Earth from the outside. Fortunately, I'd seen the moon landing. My parents had woken me up as a a 4-year-old to see the moon landing, and I remember seeing them, the pictures coming back to Earth again. So I had that in my mind. So I remember doing that and thinking, right, I must remember that. That's what the Earth looks like. And then, and I got back to the thing, and I remember coming round to full consciousness again, and I'd gone from afternoon to early evening. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. That's a huge thing. And I did that by myself. That means there's definitely no God if I can do those kind of things, right? So I ran into the kitchen and said to my mom, "Oh, mom, I've just worked out there's no God." And she turned around to me. She said, "Well, why is that? Why do you think that?" Because little did I know she was a Christian, because she'd never said anything about it. But I said, "Oh, it's because it's not needed. It's just not needed.
It's not necessary."
Yeah. Well, I didn't use the word necessary because it's too long for an 8-year-old. But I said it's not needed. And then the next day, my dad came to me, and my mum had obviously told this to Dad, and he was an atheist. And he went,
Oh wow!
Well, he put my arm around me and just, "Well done, son. That's exactly it. Let me start teaching you some chess.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Let's get some other voices.
That was my testimonial evidence to being an atheist, right? I didn't have the indoctrination to start with. Because I didn't have the indoctrination, I was allowed to work it out for myself, and that was a key thing. But first came the humanism, interestingly. So yeah.
Let's just say hey to Robin, but Tommy hasn't said a word yet, though.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to dominate. Go ahead, Tommy.
Hey, Kelly,
It's nice to meet you, sir.
I'm not going to stay very long anyway, Robert. I've got like an anti-vax chat going on over on that other show, and Lord of mercy, right. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've never, like, it makes me lose hope in humanity.
All right. Well, I appreciate you stopping in.
Yeah, like but Kelly, it's so good to see you. I like your hat.
Always, yeah. My hair's not done.
Did y'all have a good time at Anacon?
Sure, I did have a good
time. I did not go.
Oh, you didn't go? Okay.
Yeah, I've been working like 12 hours, 7 days a week. So no, I did not.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not go. I'm gonna go to Rocket City Reason though. I'll be there.
Oh, I'm gonna try to be there too.
Kelly's huge fun to have.
Oh, you're going there too? Go. Good.
Yeah, she's huge fun, man. We had a blast last year at the Ark encounter thing.
I hate you couldn't come this year. It rained the whole time.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it felt better than being super hot though. So,
I would have just had to have I don't have I didn't want Joe. I would have just been extra work on Joe, have him take care of me because I can't. I'm not out of this chair anymore at all. So. He had enough going on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Tommy, what's your thoughts on all of this and the moral views?
Yeah.
Did you come from a religious background, or how did you?
I did actually. Also, mainly jumped on me. Obviously, loved the conversation, but also it's been too long since I've talked with Kelly, so I was like, I got to jump in on this. So.
Yes. I have been missing in action for a couple months now.
Yeah. But hey, good to see you though. But yeah, definitely grew up religious. And in fact, I was about to say one of the main reasons I'm wanting to go to Rocket City ReasonCon this year is because I found out the Saturday of Rocket City Reason is actually my kind of unofficial 5-year anniversary of being an atheist. So I was like, well, I guess it's a sign, so I should probably. But grew up so I'm 43 now. So yeah, I would say I called myself a Christian. I was born in the church, grew up pretty conservative Baptist. Then I finally deconverted when I was 38. So yeah, quite the religious background.
Yeah. Me and Ed talked about this a little bit, I think, on his channel, because when we came out of it, he started dealing with the moral problem immediately. Is what I remember from our conversation, Ed. I think it was just kind of on the side chat, but I didn't really deal with the moral problem at all. I was trying to just deal with the epistemics, how we come to conclusions and stuff, and for whatever reason, the moral problem was just taking care of itself. That I still behaved towards people in the ways that I just had already regularly behaved. As far as my motivation to say, well, why am I behaving this way towards them? I never really sit down and thought about it like that. It was just how I had always treated people, and I tried to talk to them correctly, to come at them right, so to speak, and everything else. So I never really addressed it. Whereas I think Ed felt like he had to address, like, now where does morality come from, pretty early on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it became an early question for me because I guess I spent a lot of time realizing how when you grow up in the church and how you're a pastor and you're teaching people what to do, it becomes a bigger issue for me. Like it was something that was in my face all the time. Like, how do I treat each other? How do I, I don't have any of that. And when you're a pastor, you kind of re-indoctrinate yourself over and over about what proper morality is. And plus you're coming out of a certain, like I came out of the Assemblies of God plus my own independence. So it's like a very conservative mindset of how to treat people. And it's like, nah, maybe that's not so great. Like, it's like, I got, there's something here that's telling me this is not good. And so, yeah, I was dealing with that. Found out my deconversion story is a little interesting because I was an atheist and I was still in the pulpit. So like, I was kind of trapped there. Like Dennett does a book called Caught in the Pulpit, and it's a great read. It really is for anybody who wants to get some insight. But when he wrote that was influential on me because I'm like, I was in the pulpit. So I went through the angry phase of being an atheist while not being able to say anything about it because I couldn't do it.
Ouch.
And so that was hard. I spent 3 years like dealing with a lot of the other questions. So once I finally got out of the church, like, okay, what the hell am I? Like, it became an identity issue because as a pastor, you spend a lot of time teaching morality. You teach what people to do and how to do it and why God wants you to do this and this stuff. And it's like, okay, if I'm dumping authoritative morality and ethics from a God, what does that become based on? Like, what does human behavior become based on, and how do we get better at it? And yeah, it was tough. It was tough for me. It's one of the first questions I dealt with, probably because of my former vocation, like probably because of what I used to do.
Did you two things? Firstly, to Robert and think, did you have some sense of humanism when you were a Christian already? Is that where you were deriving your morals from, and that's why after deconversion you could just simply switch over to a different form or secular humanism as opposed to Christian?
I guess. I mean, it really depends on what kind of verses you base your, like, I don't know. Some things are intuitive and some things are like doctrinal. And if you base a lot of your stuff on verses, like even in the doctrinal side, to love your neighbor as you love yourself, then you can just use that as that's not a direction towards the God character and then back down. It's just saying, no, love your neighbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's something that you're already doing and you're doing that as an interaction with your neighbor, not specifically with what God said, do this or that, then it seems very natural. Whereas if you have other certain ideas that are connected to God as far as it being right or wrong, then maybe that's a little less natural to make the transition. I don't know.
What about you, Ed? Did you have some semblance of thinking, right now I've got more neighbors, like everybody's a neighbor?
Yeah, well, I think actually I probably drew that actually from Jesus's story of the Good Samaritan. Like, his point is that everybody is a human being and we all, which is something unfortunately most Christians don't pick up. But once I got to my last church, and that church was more independent and I was allowed to think about these things, I felt I could have a lot of affinity with humanists. Like we can do stuff together. We could talk together. It was a lot more once I relaxed the fundamentalism, and you can start to get a very humanist feel to things. And it helped my deconversion along. I can tell you that, because I suddenly realized you start to ask the question, how necessary is God for all this? Like, and it's the necessity of God that starts to disappear. Like, it starts to the earlier discussion about I'll pray for you and all this other stuff. It's like, you move from, hey, I need to stop making this excuse, I'll pray for you, and actually do something for the person. I actually have to do what the parable says bind their wounds, take them someplace, put them up, feed them. Like, there's some shit there that needs to be done, or you're really not. And at the time, I was still a Christian, or you're really not a Christian. Like this, I'll pray for you stuff. I was starting to get upset about that as a Christian. Like,
yeah, likewise.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's like, it's great to say you're going to pray for me. When you're a Christian, you believe that does something. And so you kind of, yeah, I get that does something, but does it do something when we're supposed to be, you start dealing with what I would call, like, there's some songs in the church, like being his hands and feet. Like, there's with lyrics like that. It's like, it starts to bother you that the church talks good talk about doing good works, but they don't. But then these humanists over here, they're actually doing shit. Like, they're actually doing stuff that actually helps. And it's like, when I was still a Christian, that was part of my deconversion. Like, slowly but surely, God becomes less and less necessary, and it's human interaction and human doing stuff, and it's people that actually do stuff that help others. Better stuff. It's just better stuff. It's not just trying to throw it off onto a God and hope he does something. Like, it's you can actually do something to help other people. And it's one of those things that changed for me. Like, and once I got out of the church and became an atheist, like, humanism becomes more of don't want to say it's a necessity, but it's like an attitude you have to have of, like, can I do something? Can I help here?
Yeah, it's a positive belief, and that's what you need to pick up once you become an atheist. You go, okay, I've been lazy. I have a lazy mind because I've been putting God in all these gaps. Now I've got to find something else to fill them. What about you, Tommy? Humanism, has that helped you at all, or did you have that pre conversion?
I mean, probably, but like, honestly, like, I don't have much of a like philosophical background. I mean, it's only something in the past few years I've really started learning much about, because, like, as a Christian, my only thoughts about morality was, well, it just comes from the Bible, and everything else, it's like we just call everything else relativism, because we're like, well, it doesn't have a standard, so therefore everything's just relative. But yeah, it hasn't been like just in the past few years since coming out. And then I started like learning a little more about maybe some other forms of moral philosophy, like when I started like deconstructing, before actually deconverting. But yeah, like I said, is now like, I guess I would probably qualify as a humanist. I still don't feel like if you just asked me like to define humanism and explain it, like I probably couldn't do that. But when I hear people talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. But like other terms, as far as like where I am, if I am anywhere in some sort of moral philosophy, another term I really like is moral anti-realism. Just saying, because that's one of the things you'll hear a lot in like more religious, specifically Christian, especially like the presuppositionalist spheres, to say, well, what do you like? Well, there has to be like some sort of moral grounding, like outside of ourselves, or like mind independent, or whatever they want to call it. It's like, that's how we know things like genocide and torture and whatever are wrong. Like, we just know those are ultimately wrong, like regardless of our opinion. But the more I think about it, it's like, well, we only think those things are wrong because those are things that people don't like. And so that's all based on our opinion anyway. But even then, if you look at like just the totality of human history, like clearly not all people think that those things are wrong because they happen. So the fact that they are things for us to think are wrong kind of, to me, refutes that. But because even if you were to say that, okay, well, these people, well, they're just violating whatever ultimate moral principle or whatever there is about these things, it's like, okay, well, if this like mind independent ultimate moral standard is out there somewhere, but people aren't living by it, then kind of, so what? Like, why does it matter that it's just kind of out there somewhere, but we don't really have a way of actually knowing what it is? Or we might think we know what it is, and even if we're correct about it, it's like, and even if there is a God behind it, he doesn't really seem to be doing anything to actually enforce it, other than just using other people to make us feel bad for doing certain things. That seems to be about it.
So.
Good point. I think there's something that people tend to fall into just because of the opposition, right? And this, you have to from my point of view, you have to understand that atheism is not a positive belief in that sense. I mean, it is in my sense, but generally speaking, it only answers the one question, as the phrase goes, right? Do you believe in God? No. Right. So, that's the one question it answers. In which case, it's not something which you can rest any worldviews on. Right. So when we talk to theists, the temptation is to use their ideas of moral behavior, right, and try and say, well, atheism can give us the same kind of moral behavior strictures, and that's just not true. It's never going to be true.
No,
So
no.
that's the thing. And so when we're doing that, it's quite tempting to try and mirror what the theists are saying about their moral structures, right? But often when they use the word, oh, look, morals are grounded in God, they're basically trying to say that's an explanation for why morals are, right? And that's clearly a mistake to do, because grounding is not about explanation so much as it's about giving value to whatever we decide.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that's really important, that there is a difference there, right? They tend to use God as an explanation for just about anything, that the God of the gaps, for instance, in cosmology, or just about any other topic you want to talk about. They're going to say, well, God done did it, and therefore, without actually saying how God does it ever, right? So there's no explanation given, right? There's no epistemic explanation given, but just this vague, well, because he's got these properties, he could do anything, except when you start pointing out things he can't do, like make a rock big enough that he can't lift it, that kind of thing. And then they go, oh no, well, that's a limitation. Yeah, that's not an omni God, right? And so God isn't omni. Okay, right. Well, here we go again, back round the old. We found a gap. Now let's just stick God in and say we don't care. And that's really important. That's really important to say that, because then you say, okay, well, no, I've got to find some morals. And if you think of it as grounding as just value, there are many things that give us value which we don't think of as explanations per se, right? There can be, right? We could say, well, it's our nature, right? It's nature as a human being that gives us is the grounding for what we think morally, and that's perfectly good grounding. But it's not the explanation of one-to-one, right? Because you can't say, well, look, your human nature is that you think, and therefore it's all subjective. Well, no, if you think about it, we're an evolved species, and as a species, that's what's the grounding. It's the population, right? And that's not an individual. That's not an individual mind, even. In fact, when you look back at it, that probably means our morality comes from, us as mammals in general. And if you look at mammals in general, they also seem to have some reciprocity. So I honestly think that grounding is never going to be a problem, only if we start taking the definitions that theists and especially pre-suppers give us, right? Which I think is a false thing to do anyway, because, as I say, it doesn't mean anything. There's no actual explanation there, unless you take it as value. And if you get them to say, yeah, I take grounding as value, then of course nominalism can also have value as well, right? It's not just axiological, purpose-driven explanations that only have value. Robert?
I think there's this thing that is happening, whether it's in religion or outside of religion, that is like this how large your group dynamic is, and we're doing this in-group, out-group thing, and you can do it in religion or out of religion, and we see it a lot of times inside of religious texts that is like, oh, that Jesus come for Israel, right, kind of thing, or your Old Testament text that these laws apply to Israel, but can you take someone that's not an Israelite and can you make them a slave and this, that, and the other? That's totally fine according to the Bible, because they're in that out group. And what seems to be happening in more advanced just social settings, whether it's in a religion or out of religion, whoever is making a larger in-group and saying, no, everyone kind of is in the same, they're inside of the same rule set. So when we're extending our moral behavior, we're extending it to everybody. Like the more moral group, you can almost determine, regardless of whether it's religion or not religion, just by saying how large is its in-group. So if it's in-group is all-encompassing, then it is more moral. It just, like, I dare you, that fail anywhere. It just will not fail anywhere. Yeah. If they encompass everybody and say, well, can you treat this person that way? You mentioned earlier, Tommy, a genocide. The only reason that we generally have a problem with genocide is because we're inside of that social group. But if they're outside of that social group and we say, oh, well, they're not in the same social group that we're extending morality to, then we don't have a problem with that genocide. But if you're incorporating all of them inside of the larger social group, then immediately you're going to have a problem with genocide, because it doesn't seem fair to treat them in that way, because you wouldn't want to be treated like you're inside of the same social group that you're seeing them in, and you wouldn't want that behavior to you. So I think it's all about how big of a circle you draw is literally what's creating the more moral or less moral, in my opinion.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the way morals have been going in the last 200 years or so, right? And I just got to be the first to say, oh, you're going to be a vegetarian now, are you?
Yeah, I get you.
Well, no, I haven't extended that circle to everything.
Yeah,
but all humans are definitely in the group. They're in the circle.
I've always
no cannibalism.
But like, I do think that that's the advantage of humanism, right? That's because it is something which both religious people and non-religious people can agree on, right? That the group should be extended to humans at least. And that's something that I feel, because that is the common ground, that breaks a lot of presuppers. When you say, okay, no, yeah, but you're immoral because you're an atheist. You'd probably, if you didn't, you'll probably be raping donkeys in the streets or something, So, because it's subjective. But then you say, well, no, actually, I'm a humanist, and that's where I draw my morals from. And then they say, oh, well, okay, yeah, but now we've got some common ground, because they have to say, well, we're all made in God's image. They've got to say that, right? And that's my group. So there we go. You don't need to say you're made in God's image to get morals from it, but if you want to say that, then okay, we have some common ground. Now there's the Greg Banson type presuppositionalist is instantly ruled out. So yeah. Anyway, that's my little thing on that.
Well, don't everybody be quiet. Sorry,
humanism for the win, by the way.
Oh yeah, but that has been the trend. Like, and technology has helped with that. Like, we get to connect with more people from around the world. The groups keep getting larger in a sense, and the smaller groups seem to be shrinking because they don't embrace that. Like, I don't know if time is going to bear that out. Like, but I've always said that, fingers crossed. But like, making your tribe humanity is a good way to kill the rest of tribalism. Like, it's really a good way to do it. And so
absolutely.
I think technology is helping with that, because I have connections all around the world now, whereas even 30 years ago, my connections were my neighborhood, maybe a few other places. Some people I had maybe a pen pal relationship, but that's not the case. Like, we can do panels like this, and we're all over the place. Like, it's like, it's causing, I've already mentioned Daniel Dennett. Daniel Dennett talked about the new transparency killing faith, but he also talked about how this is drawing us into a more human space instead of just our tribes so much. Like, we start to have connections with people we care about, and they're not even next door. Like, they're just, they're around the world.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's just, I think we're going to see a lot of struggles with it. Like, this is why we're seeing so much hard reaction from groups that are a little bit, I don't like the rest of humanity. I only like my form of humans. Like, this is why they're dying so hard. This is why they're being so aggressive. Like, they feel afraid. Okay. And part of humanism is getting people to stop being afraid of the other humans. Like, stop. Like, it's one of the most difficult things I see people deal with. It's like, yeah, these people are human just like you. Like, and humanism to me has always kind of drawn us back to, like, hey, you can change the colors on the flag, you can change the way people behave, the culture, but it's still human beings. Like it's still like I don't know. I think that's the struggle we find ourselves in, and I think technology is helping with that. But I'm interested to see where this goes before I'm gone. Yeah, I really am. So.
Yeah, yeah, and fortunately, because this is something I've thought about with this, just in terms of like, okay, where are we going with this from here? I feel like, and among the many things I am not an expert in, human history and anthropology is definitely one of those. But for what I do gather, just like speaking of tribalism and the way like the world has just shrunk so much just in the past few decades, like we obviously a lot of us get very frustrated with the tribalism that we do see, whether it's like racism, sexism, nationalism, whatever. But I don't know, the way I look at it, and this is maybe something that kind of gives me hope, like just being around so many people that are so different from you at the level we are now is a pretty new thing for humans. So I feel like we're still in that phase of like we're still getting used to it. So all the fingers crossed that the more we do this, the more we do realize, oh, we actually are the same tribe. So as obviously frustrating as it is right now, just the thing I try to keep in mind is like evolution is a thing, change is a thing, progress is a thing. Humans as a species and like just as cultures like are continuing to change, and it seems like at least in general we're going in a good direction right now. So yeah, so hopefully, I mean, I have no idea how long this sort of thing would take, or if it ever even would be completely successful. But yeah, just hoping that eventually we do get to that point where we are like more people are getting used to being around people that are different than yourself and realizing, oh yeah, we're all kind of the same, at least on that basic human level.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's weird. I think we're moving now from more of a division based on these visual things where sexualities. We're moving more into these idealistic divisions. So now we're getting like these more so like right now, America is more party divided than it is any type of divided than it is presently. It's more party divided. So there's these idealistic kind of things like whether you have these punchline slogans of "Make America Great Again" or some other kind of slogan that is like defining your camp, right? That there is a political ideal division and there's a demonization of particular groups that is causing the division. And it's not so much what has divided us in the past, but it's still creating like, no, not my group. You're not in my circle. You're in the out circle. And I think that's what's the shift is, which I guess to some degree, yeah. If this is now our new division, we've made some accomplishments, but it seems like we've stepped back a few steps too.
In that sense, yeah,
that's fair.
Also, it is definitely worth tracing the history of humanism as well. I think that's a good lesson to see how the Christians developed it in the first place, and how it changed, how it created Protestantism, and in fact, it started the Renaissance, which I believe is the beginning of the process of enlightenment in the human brain to become this ever more selective, wider grouped moral kind of being, and how it shrunk borders and probably stopped wars, even though initially it was, obviously wasn't well liked by some particular churches, mainly the Catholic Church.
I didn't know the concept of humanism till I became an atheist, technically.
Wow.
I didn't know what the hell that was.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't even years after I become an
I didn't learn about it until after
that I'd heard about it. I still never governed my life around any aspect of that. It's just something that I kind of come to know that these are terminologies and ideas.
You were good. Okay. You were just called religious.
Well, Thomas More was a humanist, Christian humanist. He developed some of the original theory in Northern Europe anyway, but obviously in Southern Europe it led to such things as rediscovering like medicine, and obviously someone like what's his name, the guy that put forward this heliocentric model and proved it.
Galileo. Copernicus.
Copernicus. Thank you so much. So this is these are the things it led to, the scientific awakening, I would say, during the Renaissance. We know where that
I
led to.
I learned about humanism when I was in seminary because I ended up reading people like Thomas More. I do remember reading him. I can't
Erasmus,
remember.
maybe.
Yeah, so there were. I took a lot of religious philosophical theology classes, so humanism came up often.
Mm.
And the funny thing is, they all realized that it was Christians that kind of came up with the idea, and then they kind of people would accept it or not accept it. Like they either wanted to go full blown fundamentalist or be a little bit more humanist. And I had one professor say that that was the dividing line between the conservative Christian and the liberal Christian. Is the liberal kind of
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
the liberal Christian accepted the humanist side of things and realized that we're all humans, and accept the searcher aspect of a person on their spirituality, things like that. Whereas the conservatives said, no, we don't have to have that humanist stuff here. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
we got to go.
There is an interesting example of a French priest, and I think he was in the mid 17th century, so 1650s or 60s, 60s, around there. And I can't remember his name offhand, but he basically, was allegedly he was the local priest in the village, etc., and he was fairly devout, you would think, except till after he died, they found a manuscript proclaiming atheism. So just to say that there's just a long history of priests being converted and not believing their own thing, even though they carry on doing the job until they die.
I can resonate with that. I spent 2 years trying to preach and teach in such a way that was more humanistic, like trying to use the stuff in the Bible in a humanistic way. There's a lot of passages you avoid at that point,
but for sure.
But there are some you can use.
And then Jesus,
some you can use.
Right? There's some Jesus stuff there which really backs it up. I mean, that I've always been fascinated by the difference between the Old and New Testament, and I later came to find out that they decided to keep the Old Testament just because they thought that it predicted or prophesied Jesus. But I think like many theologians over the years, they would have been a lot better off if they just junked the Old Testament and gone, no.
You couldn't early on, though. You had to use it to leverage authority. Otherwise, you have no. That's when it's primarily being kept around, is to leverage authority. That that these things were talked about in the past, and that we're a continuation of an already established thing.
Well, they got rid of the Gnostics, so I can't see why they couldn't get rid of the Hebrews as well.
I think there were groups that pushed for it. If I had to guess.
No, for sure. I mean, Jesus mentions, he gets asked about the Old Testament, doesn't he? So I guess in the year, whenever they decided to canonize the Bible, they'd already.
It was a process.
Already
there is no year.
Well, over the decade, over the 100 years or so, that they actually did that. Presumably, they one of the testaments that they wanted to. They were having struggles, weren't they, to put Gospels in. Right, because they knew of many more. Right, they refused to put Peter's in. So
we know 44 exist right now, and only 4 of them made it. So
all eyewitnesses, of course. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. That's a given.
In fact, all of the ones named, as as the apostles. I think they call them disciples. All of those ones, they just went, no, we're not having those. That's just crazy. That's your crazy stuff, that is.
Well, in fairness, like Peter and stuff was the later. I mean, they were even later dated. So.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
There's not a lot of gospel writing in the first century, actually.
Okay. Anyway, humanism. Sorry.
Humanism.
Yeah. I mean, it's the neutral ground that you can always have a decent dialogue with a Christian if they're a humanist.
Mm-hmm. So I was mentioning these circles earlier, and I couldn't help but think, because the experience that I had in church, there are some churches that don't want these circles to be drawn too large or incorporate too many people, and they'll use ideas like Babel and other things, or one world order kind of thing. They'll use these concepts to make sure that they're portraying that God doesn't want us to be too unified, right? He wants to be a type of separation. I've
Yeah.
heard
I hear
this
you.
before, but it's a thing. It's
Yeah.
a thing
It
for
is a
sure,
thing.
especially in the more fundamentalist church groups, that there is this idea that we don't want one ant bed, so to speak. We still might need to make sure that we keep all of these things divided.
That's the joke for me. I was in a debate with Calamity Jill, and he said the Tower of Babel was constructed by Neanderthals.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, love it. I love it. 6,000 years old Earth, of course. You've got to fit the Neanderthals in there somewhere.
Somehow.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I think within just a 6,000-year-old timeline, I think that maybe it was only time, like considering like the whole of like all like primate history. I think that probably leaves like Neanderthals about maybe like 1, maybe 2 generations worth of time for them to be around before we had the
I have no
different other ones
Neanderthal
or
in me.
something
I'll
like
just
that.
say that.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough.
Say that.
I mean, out of all of us, obviously you are the most diverse. So, in genetically speaking.
Yeah.
I am curious because I didn't know that Calvinists messed with young Earth creationism at all. I didn't think that was a thing. I thought they were like doctorially opposed to it, but
I grew up very Calvinist and very young Earth creationist.
Really?
Yeah,
is that more in the
goes-
southern side of it, or is it kind of all over
No.
Calvinism, or
I
what?
don't know. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, which is, it's not the
Okay.
South. So
It's not the South.
yeah.
I'm very close to Calvin University. And when I did my some of my research on their campus, because I was separated from Asbury for a bit, they had a sign up, as I recall, creationism versus evolution debate on campus. So it was Calvin College then, now it's Calvin University, but they are very Calvinist. There are many of them that are very six-day creationist type people, and others are not. Like, it seems to be in Calvinism, it's like not universal, but it can exist. So it can exist. So
Yeah, I just don't. It's probably not in their core doctrine. I just had to do a brief lookup on it, and it says no. It's not a part of their core doctrine, but
no, it's not. But it's there. It's there.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess there's some other like Calvinists I have known and like interacted with like in different discussions. It seems to be like it may not be like directly a core doctrine, but if they take like just a strict like biblical literalist approach, like if that's part of their core doctrine, then they kind of have to be young Earth creation is kind of by default because that's what the Bible literally says. So
Does it?
Yeah.
Where does it say that? I thought that was a James Usher thing.
Well, it doesn't. Okay. Well, I mean, the Bible says a lot of things, but I mean, right? But their interpretation of it, a
lot of things about one subject.
Yeah, but I guess whatever, I don't remember who it was who like put the timeline. They went through all the genealogies and figured out, it's only this many years old. But also just like the Earth being created in 6 days, like no evolution or anything like that. Like humans were created super special and all that. So, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. You can always reinterpret these things using other texts, and it just depends on which ones you give priority to.
Yeah.
So if you don't like the 6-day account, you go far forward in a text that's nowhere in Genesis, and you find a day is as 1,000 years to the Lord, and you say, oh, well, this was 6,000 years that he created it in, and you have, so you always have all this versatility that you can make one verse subservient to another verse.
Yeah, because it also, by implication, this means Jesus was in the grave for 3,000 years.
Right. By implication, yes, of course, 3,000 years.
So I guess he's still in the grave. Does that mean he hasn't resurrected?
Yes, I think so. I believe that's right.
Yeah, he's still there. He's still dead. He's going to rise from the dead.
Come on, we've gotten to the sarcasm.
Yay!
He's going to rise from the dead in actuality in 3,000. That's
right.
And 33 or 32 or 31.
Somewhere in there.
Maybe 34. I don't know. It's difficult to say.
We'll throw in relative time there, and we'll be fine.
Well, we're going to start doing a little bit of a wrap up here. I'm fixing the guests as they come on. I'll give you your last word. I do want to let y'all know to check out Tommy. I just put the link inside of the side chat, so y'all can check out Tommy. He's the one that I don't have pinned inside of the video description as a regular. But if Tommy's come around a few times now, hopefully he starts becoming a regular. I'll have to put him in the video linking so that you can have a link to Tommy. Tommy, we got to have you on here at some point, man.
I know, and
I keep email or something.
And
I keep meaning to message you. I finally connected with you on Discord the other day. So yeah.
All right. Well, Tommy's link is in the side chat now. It should be. Y'all check him out. Tommy, tell them a little bit about what you do in your YouTube page.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I do a show every Wednesday called The Humanity on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch, but mainly focus on the YouTube side. I do it with my friend Matt, who he might also be another fun person to have on here. Kelly knows. The way I describe it is like on paper, it sounds like one of like a billion different shows you find on YouTube. You know, we're a couple atheists, former Christians who watch like apologetics and Christian videos and react to them and whatever. But I think what we really like about our show is, I mean, it's still pretty small. I think we just cracked 200 subscribers like a month or so ago. But the people we do have, like, it's just a really cool little community that we have. Streams end up going, it's not uncommon for us to be going for like 5 hours, but that, like, even just watching like a 15-minute video, and stretching it, because like we just also, me and my co-host are quite neurodivergent, so we're very easily distracted and like so many things going on in our heads at once. But the reason the reason streams go so that as long as they do is because we're just having fun, just like with ourselves and like with the chat and everything, or if we have guests on, like Kelly's been a guest on the show.
Good camaraderie over there. The little bit that I've tuned into it, good camaraderie for sure.
Yes, we have a great time there.
Good stuff. But y'all check out Tommy. Links in the video thing, and if not, I'll want to put in a link in the video when the video wraps. But
awesome.
Tommy, I'm going to take you off stage for a little bit. If you want to hang tight, we'll chit chat after it. But I'm going to take you off stage, and we're going to go down the list here. Appreciate it, Tommy. Take care, man. Mm-hmm. All right, Simos.
Thanks. Okay. I think humanism is probably one of the most important things for us as atheists to try and understand and try and bridge the gap, at least, because as time goes by and the number of Christians on the planet shrink, it's going to become more and more important to be embracing on the other side. And a lot of them are not going to want to give up their beliefs just because of the length of time they've held it and the consequences of giving it up. Right? It's if you're a doubter and a skeptic, which is one of the things you probably need to be in order to give up something like a strong-held doctrine or dogma, then that is obviously going to clash. So I think it's important that as humanists, we accept people even if they don't come from our own particular theistic position or non-theistic position, just the same as we should reach our hands out to agnostics as well. We should also reach them out to Christians that wish to at least engage in civil conversation that is going to allow them to slowly remove some of the angst that comes with trying to change your fundamental positions. Like I say, it's very difficult. It's easy for me to say that because I never had the dogma in the first place. Yes. And as such, I feel very, very lucky. And when I talk to people who have had this dogma, like almost beaten into them, I would say in some certain terms of some Catholics, then I find it very disturbing. And, I have a great amount of empathy for those people. Obviously, the antithesis of that is true. When I hear a fundamentalist just being so dogmatic that they're refusing to even open their ears to anything new, then I become, obviously extremely anti-theist. And I would call, but I say anti-theist in the traditional sense of the word, as I see it, which is to say, I'm not against theism. I'm not against theists. I'm against dogma. And that's why I'm an anti-theist, because I believe dogma itself is one of the issues. If you have to use dogma to try and back up your presuppositions, you know, then you're probably on a losing wicket, as we'd say in cricket.
Yep. Appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
on, Simos. Y'all check
You're
out
very welcome.
Simos's channel. I think he's in the links in the regulars. He comes by regularly, so y'all check him out with the links there. And if you want to hold tight, we'll chit-chat after the show. Appreciate it, Simos. Take care.
Thank you.
Ed.
And then there's 3.
It's the Trinity. No. Ed, tell them about yourself, where they can check you out, man.
Well, I'm the Rabbit Atheist. I'm on the Rabbit Atheist channel. I spend a lot of time doing streaming. I do the occasional video on various subjects. They don't come out as often as I'd like. Mostly time constraints, I find that I have. But I do a broadcast Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, except Wednesday and the weekend. So I let you guys have the weekend because you guys see.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you. We got to do some kind of show together on the Trinity or something. I think.
Oh yeah, I got to talk about how Robert was once a heretic once upon a time.
Sure, we'll have to cover that sometime. But y'all check out Ed, the Rabbit Atheist. He's got a link. He's a regular. He comes by all the time. Should be in the YouTube video description. Appreciate it, Ed. Take care, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right. Well, Miss Kelly, I thank you so much for coming on here. You have a link should be inside of the video description. You're our primarily guest today. I appreciate you coming and talking on the subject.
Thank you
What's
for
your last
having
words?
me.
Yeah, appreciate
I
it.
want to thank you
what
for
you got
having
going
me.
on?
That's the main thing. Nothing at the moment, but I am working on revising my channel. I do interviews when I have the chance. With my channel, Detroit Atheist Queen, Secular Activism Unfiltered is the main one that I do. And I also do one called Sovereign Intimacy, where the secular activism Unfiltered, I talk about people, the secular or those in this community. And how did they get to that position, and why are they here, and what are they doing for the community, and so on and so forth. And then the alternative secular activism, the other one, I'll be more talking about taboo discussions in the kink culture, things of that nature.
Well, I don't have most of those links.
No, they're on the same channel.
Okay, fantastic. Good. Then it's
I don't have one channel, but I do try to have different discussions. And now I'm working on something. It's called Coffee with the Queen, and that's going to be just open discussion. Where I'm just talking about what I think about for that day. And then another one is called The Crown Verdict, where I talk about a current event, and I'll give my editorial advice on that. I'm going to be doing those things as well. So that's in a nutshell. But right now, I've been working so many hours that I haven't had time to sit down and do anything on my channel lately. Hopefully,
get back more active.
Hopefully, that can change. But if I'm working, I need sleep, and working 12 hours, kind of hard. But luckily, I had today off, so I was able to come on your channel and do a couple other things that I needed to do.
Well, I appreciate it. And y'all, everybody check out Miss Kelly, Detroit Atheist Queen. Her video link or her page link is in the description. Y'all check her out. Miss Kelly, thank you so much. And I'd love to have you back on another time. Take care, Miss Kelly. Take care. Bye. All right. Well, everyone, I thank you for joining. I appreciate you for sticking around. We had some great guests on. Your links are going to be in the video description. Y'all check them out. And please, by all means, check out Miss Kelly, Detroit Atheist Queen, for sure. As always, I encourage everyone to remain skeptical and skeptical of yourself.